All right, let's dive right into the world of AI-powered web automation. As more and more of us try to automate things online, this huge question keeps popping up. Should you go with a slick, managed service that you pay for, or do you get your hands dirty with a powerful open-source tool? It really boils down to that classic trade-off, cost versus control.
And when we talk about cost, we're not talking about small change. Look at a super powerful tool like OpenAI's Operator Agent. Word on the street is that can set you back about $200 a month. That's a pretty serious cost for any project, whether you're a solo dev or a bigger company. So that really brings us to the core question we're tackling today. Does it have to be this pricey? Is there another way to get all this awesome automation power without that big monthly bill? Well, let's dig in and find out.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about the automation dilemma, why this is such a big deal right now. Then we'll introduce our two main players, which we're kind of calling our interns. After that, we'll put them in a head-to-head matchup. And finally, we'll figure out which intern you should actually hire for your job.
The demand for this kind of tech is just exploding. Whether you're training a large language model with fresh data from the web or just trying to manage your own digital tasks, AI needs a constant stream of information. And the key to all of this? Headless browsers. Just think of them as regular browsers like Chrome, but they run invisibly in the background. They're these little programmable robots that can click, scroll, and scrape data for you completely on their own. But as we just saw, paying someone else to manage these robots can get expensive fast.
So let's use an analogy. Imagine you're hiring an intern to handle all your web automation work, and you've got two very, very different candidates showing up for the interview. One is this polished, professional agent that's ready to go on day one, but they come with a salary. The other is a super brilliant, do-it-yourself intern who's free, but you've got to train them and give them a place to work.
So on one side, you've got MultiOn. This is your paid agent. It's a professional API-first service. You literally just tell it what to do in plain English and it gets to work. On the other side is browser use. This is our free intern. It's an open-source Python library that you set up and run yourself. It is incredibly powerful and you have total control, but you're the manager. You have to provide the training and the workspace.
All right, time for the main event. We're going to pit our two interns against each other. We'll look at four really crucial things: how much they cost, how easy they are to use, how well they scale up for big jobs, and just how much control you actually get.
So let's talk money. Round one. With MultiOn, you're paying for the service. It might be per task or a monthly fee. With browser use, the software itself is totally free, $0. Your only costs are the infrastructure you run it on, things like a virtual private server, or VPS, which is basically just your own little computer in the cloud, and maybe some proxies if you're doing really large-scale stuff.
Now check this out because this really shows you the magic of MultiOn. This is a real command from their docs. You just tell it, post, hello world, I love @multion_AI. You're talking to it like a person. It's so intuitive, you don't need to know a single line of code.
And then you have the browser use way. This perfectly captures the trade-off. To do the same thing, you're writing Python code. You're setting up an agent, giving it a task, hooking it up to a browser, and plugging in your own language model. It's incredibly powerful, for sure, but it definitely assumes you're cool with writing some code.
Okay, before we get into scaling, we have to talk about this term, browser context. The easiest way to think about it is like an incognito window in your browser, but for a robot. It's a totally separate, isolated session. Each one has its own cookies, its own history, its own identity. And this is super important for running a bunch of tasks at the same time without them tripping over each other.
So, keeping that browser context idea in mind, let's talk about scaling up. MultiOn basically says, don't worry about it. They handle everything in the cloud for you, and they claim you can run millions of agents at once. Browser use, which is built on this amazing library called Playwright, is all about efficiency. By using those separate browser contexts, it can run tons of sessions on your own server while using a surprisingly small amount of memory.
And this quote right here from Data for AI just nails why that's so awesome. Because browser use is built on Playwright, you get this insane level of control. For every single one of those browser contexts, you can set a different proxy, a different user agent. You can make each one look like a totally unique person from anywhere in the world.
Now, that's not to say MultiOn gives you no control. It does, but it's simplified. It gives you these nice, easy-to-use switches. You can tell it to run locally, or use a fast mode, or flip on a proxy if you're getting blocked. It's control, just the user-friendly version.
But if you're someone who wants to get under the hood and tweak every little knob, Well, browser use is a completely different world. I mean, look at just a few of the options here. You can set the max number of actions it takes, turn on computer vision, add your own custom instructions, automatically generate a GIF of what it's doing. You can even track your API costs. This is having total, granular command of your agent. So if you're going to do-it-yourself route with browser use, you're going to hit a wall, literally. Websites get nervous when they see a ton of requests coming from the same computer, and they'll just block you. That's where IP rotation is a lifesaver. You use a bunch of proxies so that every request you send looks like it's coming from a different person. For any serious project, this isn't optional, it's essential, and it's one of those infrastructure costs you have to plan for.
So, we've put them head to head. We've seen the pros and cons. It's time for the verdict. Which intern are you gonna hire? Well, the truth is, it completely depends on the job you need them to do.
This table really breaks it all down. You hire the paid agent, MultiOn, when you need to move fast, when you're not a coder, or when you're willing to pay for convenience. You hire the free intern, browser use, when you are a developer, when your task is really complex or custom, and when you want absolute total control. The trade-off couldn't be clearer. You're swapping money for a simple, managed platform, or you're swapping your time and expertise for ultimate freedom.
And that really is the question you need to ask yourself. For your next project, what's more valuable to you? The sheer convenience of a service that just works right out of the box, or the incredible power and total control that comes from building it and managing it all yourself? The choice is yours. Thanks for tuning in.